rising, and so are we. The tide is rising, and so are we. The tide is rising, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The task is mighty, and so are we. The task is mighty, and so are we. The task is mighty, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The land is holy, and so are we. The land is holy, and so are we. The land is holy, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The world is ready, and so are we. The world is ready, and so are we. The world is ready, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The tide is rising, and so are we. The tide is rising, and so are we. The tide is rising, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be.
Welcome. Thanks for being here. And I assume we have been checking in with our 1 to 10. I'm excited because we are going to we only have 2 more weeks left of Zoom worship. So our spring return is happening on March 20th, first day of spring, first day back. It's going to be great. And not too far after that, we are going to have a very special spring retreat. Wild Spirits. It's going to be at Sky Lake for 1 day from 10 to 4 on April 9th. And Rich and Cheryl Lyon are going to be there with me, leading a day, like we said, at the intersection of nature and soul. So we're going to have Rich's expertise as a nature guide, Cheryl's expertise as a spiritual director at the beautiful setting of Sky Lake, doing mostly stuff outdoors. So it's going to be muddy. Even if it's raining, we're going to push it as much as we can. So it's going to be a great day. It's $35, includes a hot lunch, and we will be sharing the information to register soon, but we wanted everybody to save their date. Yeah. So if you haven't gotten an email from us, Zach shared the link to sign up. I think everybody on here gets our weekly emails, and we'll be sending this and information about May, is it 20th to 21st, is we're going to be doing an Enneagram retreat, one overnight, Friday to Saturday. So you can save the date for those. And as soon as we get the registration links, we will send them out to everyone. But spread the word, because it's going to be really fun. And we hope something like this will help reach new people in the Southern Tier. So if you know folks who like the outdoors, let them know about Wild Spirit Retreat. Were you going to say anything, Rich?
I was just going to say, if they don't like the outdoors, or if they don't know that they do like the outdoors, you should still invite them, because the outdoors is for everyone. I've been amazed at the creativity that Corey and myself and Cheryl have discovered in our preparation and planning meetings. I think we are retreat leaders and retreat participants are all in for a treat when it comes to this Wild Spirit Retreat. It's going to be a good time. And I mean,
yeah. And there'll be a good amount of time that you can just do your own thing too. So it's not going to be, there'll be fun, interesting offerings from our experts and some time to just be and enjoy I'm so excited to be there that time of year when everything is just starting to come out. It's a great energy. So spread the word, April 9th, and we'll have that link to register soon. All right. So I hope everyone's doing well. I didn't get to see or hear the checking in, but it's been a great end of the week for me. The beginning of the week started terribly, but it could only go uphill, and it definitely has. And today we are wrapping up our Love Letters series. So let's sort of focus and center here with a poem from Morgan Harper Nichols, who is a woman of color and neurodiverse, who is an artist and poet. And her first book, I believe, is called All Along You Were Blooming. And she's just a great person. She shares her art and words freely in so many ways on Instagram. So she's a great person to follow. And this is one of the first poems of hers that I encountered. Take heart, take heart. Do not be afraid. The future may be uncertain, but there is no need to hide away. Every day is an opportunity to courageously show up, even when you don't feel equipped or that you will be enough. Let grace surprise you, setting fire to your bones, strengthening your mind in the wilds of your unknowns.
Bless my heart, bless my soul. Didn't think I'd make it 22 years old. There must be someone up above.
Yeah, I love that song from Alabama Shakes. And our final piece of wisdom for this series today comes from this book, What Happened to You? Conversations on Trauma, Resilience, and Healing by Bruce D. Perry and Oprah Winfrey. So it's a book of conversations between Oprah and Dr. Perry, who is a child psychiatrist. So some are emails, so it's not specifically letters, but it's emails, conversations that they had that they recorded. And this is in the final chapter. This comes from the final chapter that's entitled What We Need Now. So Oprah says, the lesson is that no matter what has happened, you get a chance to rewrite the script. Dr. Perry says, exactly. It really is never too late. Healing is possible. The key is knowing where to start the process and matching the developmental needs of the person. Oprah says, I remember talking to Belinda Pittman McGee, who runs the Nia Eamon Center in Milwaukee, a long-term transitional housing facility for homeless young women who are pregnant or having young children. Belinda said that women often come to the center with behavioral disorders like a quick temper or the inability to hold a job, the kinds of things that come from being raised in a traumatic environment. When she starts teaching them about trauma, she says they begin to understand their struggles with emotions and acting out are connected to what happened to them. That realization in itself can be life-changing when you've labeled yourself as bad or stupid and believed that was your fate. Dr. Perry says, I can't tell you how many people feel incredibly relieved when they get an explanation of how their brain is working and why, and don't give them a psychiatric label. We're just saying, this is the way you've organized, and it's absolutely predictable based upon what happened to you. Then we help them understand that the brain is malleable, plastic, changeable, and together we come up with a plan that will help change some of the systems that appear to be causing the problems. So now we're going to hear from Rich for our nature connection moment.
Hi, everybody. Okay, so I was noticing something the other day. Our sleepy winter landscape starting to wake up. Or show of hands, how many people enjoy the sleepy winter landscape because you feel that it might give you permission to enjoy some of your own sleepy time periods? Anybody? Well, there's a time for everything under the heavens. We've read that somewhere, right? And right now, as we look around, there are some signs in nature that are saying maybe it's time to wake up. I saw my first groundhog of the year running across a meadow yesterday. The winter stoneflies are coming back out from the banks of the river. One of the first great insect emergences of the year. And I also brought with me a couple of amphibians. Now these are not, here's my bullfrog. My red salamander and my eastern spotted newt. I do not have models of our early emergent amphibians. I don't have any for wood frogs or for spotted salamanders, but I do want to ask, has anybody here seen any amphibians yet this year? Please share if you have. Nobody? Not yet. That's a good way to put it. Not yet. If they're not awake and moving yet, I hope that you will find them in weeks to come. Our amphibians are very important neighbors. They're links in the food chain and also indicators of a healthy environment because they're very sensitive to pollution. One of those amphibians that will be first to wake up is the wood frog. Now, I'm going to share my screen real quick just to share with you the sound that the wood frog makes. And to me, I think it sounds like a constipated duck, but you can make up your own mind of what you think it sounds like. So now, without further ado, let's enjoy this short video that was one of the first videos that I found that inspired me to learn more about North American wood frogs.
Here's the thing about North American wood frogs. They're small.
So it might be very difficult to spot a frog.
Very small, but they're everywhere, just out of view, hiding on the forest floor. Nothing.
He's camouflaged. His coloration is the same as the soil around him. You see him here? He's cold.
You can find them here in southern Ohio and all the way up to the Arctic Circle. But wherever they are, once it gets cold with the first sprinkle of ice, this frog does something I didn't know was possible. As soon as the frog just touches an ice crystal.
This animal is going to freeze.
Freeze?
Freeze. Solid freeze.
That touch of ice immediately sets off signals inside the frog, says Professor John Costanzo, that pulls water away from the center of its body, so the frog's internal organs are now wrapped in a puddle of water that then turns to solid ice.
I still can't get over it. It's really an amazing thing.
There is no breathing, no kidney function. The heart stops.
And there will be no heartbeat for a long period of time.
You mean as in no heartbeat?
Right.
Nothing.
Flatline.
Flatline. For an hour or two?
It could be for days, perhaps even weeks.
Really? It sounds like it's virtually dead, no?
We know that the frog isn't dead, but he's probably about as close as you can get.
To being dead.
Yes.
So, from the outside, this little frog feels like a rock. Except that as it froze, the frog flooded itself with a kind of sugar.
The frog's blood sugar is distributed through the circulatory system. It works like an antifreeze.
It's harder for the water to freeze, so cells stay just damp enough for the animal to hold itself together. Until the springtime. When the days grow a little longer, and the ground gets a little warmer, and then, well, a kind of miracle happens. After weeks or months of no heartbeat, none, suddenly there's a pulse. And that first heartbeat leads to another, and then another, and then within a day, and in the case of this little frog, it took about 10 hours, the animal literally comes back to life.
Spontaneous resumption of function.
Why?
We don't know. We don't know what triggers that event.
And think how elegant a business this is. Because although the sun is warming up the outside of this little guy, somehow his insides, his heart, his brain, they thaw first. His insides warm up before his outsides. But somehow it all happens in perfect synchrony every spring.
As we seek to be a community of people who live into community with the full diversity of life on planet Earth, I hope that the weeks to come will provide lots of opportunities for each of us to enjoy the many small miracles that will unfold before our very eyes as the sleepy winter landscape awakens and prepares for the springtime.
Thanks, Rich. Definitely wow. And somehow you always manage to find or just happen to choose the perfect, exact animal, creature, phenomenon in nature that goes with our theme so well.
There's a spirit at work here, Corey.
There is, I know.
Bigger than all of us and working through each of us too, right?
Yes, absolutely. So this month we, as I said, have been talking love letters for Black History Month, sort of combining those two ideas. And we started with Martin Luther King's letter from a Birmingham jail. And that Sunday, if you remember, if you were here, we also did a bystanders intervention training about how we can intervene when we find ourselves bystanders to all sorts of situations, but to be a community working towards peace and justice and to sort of own that as community members. And I got that training, as I mentioned, from a local community organizer, person of color, who goes by Roderick Douglas on Facebook. And I know a lot of local folks follow him, and he could actually probably be a comedian. He's a really funny guy as well. So if you're interested, he was very kind and just sent me his whole presentation without question to use. And then we had kind of a break in there of that related to February still, Valentine's Day, with hearing from Jay and their incredible Beloved King musical. And then last week we heard from Alice Walker and talked about the wisdom and excellence of people of color and the importance of having Black mentors and teachers and partners and friends so that we don't miss out on that. But this week, I wanted to touch on issues of mental health, and especially think about the generational trauma that is present in our lives, especially prevalent for people of color. And truly, though, as I was thinking about it, most of us are walking around with some kind of trauma or grief that is either acutely present or still lingering in our lives. And the author, Robert Anton Wilson, has this great quote that I've really come to appreciate, especially after these past 2 years. He says, "Under the present brutal and primitive conditions on this planet, every person you meet should be regarded as one of the walking wounded. We have never seen a person not slightly deranged by either anxiety or grief. We have never seen a totally sane human being." See, it sounds a little dramatic, but I really do think it's true. I don't think there has ever been a completely sane human being without any kind of woundedness. So as I was thinking about these issues and using this great book and wisdom from Oprah and Dr. Perry, and a lot of the book is Oprah sharing about her traumatic childhood and how that affected her and all these different people that she's met. And that question of what happened to you is sort of that universal question that we could all ask each other, that when you're experiencing somebody's negative behaviors, when you're hitting up against another not sane human being, to stop and consider what happened to them is helpful for me. I can imagine all kinds of things that might be causing them to act in some negative ways. But I think it's great if we honestly get the chance to ask that of one another, to say, so, you know, what's your childhood trauma? I'll show you yours and you show me mine. Like, we can talk through it. And so as I'm thinking about all of this, it just so happened earlier this week that Roderick, the person who I got the intervention training from, posted a personal story about his own journey with this exact topic. And so it's public on his Facebook profile. So I felt like I could summarize it for you and share some of his wisdom from his unique perspective. So his story was about how his mom had attempted suicide when he was 16. And he found her when he came home with his 2 younger siblings one evening. And so they got her to the hospital, and the doctors didn't think she was going to make it. They just barely saved her life. But she was left with a whole host of new physical disabilities to accompany all of her mental health issues that she clearly had been struggling with her whole life. He said, ironically, those new disabilities rendered her eligible for various benefits and social services she was previously exempt from. So now that her injuries were physical, she was eligible for services and support, whereas before, when they were just mental health issues, she was not. So amazingly, with her basic needs now being met, her mental health improved almost as quickly as her physical health declined. So he said he saw his mom start to find joy and love again, even as she, though physically, was becoming wheelchair bound and had to begin dialysis. He said that she would joke she had the slowest suicide in history. But when she eventually died from renal failure, it wasn't deemed a suicide. So there was no sympathy. Nobody did a fundraiser or had a memorial. Nobody helped him and his siblings pick up the pieces. She just was another young mother, Black woman, who died at the age of 51. And I'll share a direct quote from his post. He said, "Her death consumed me. So I started reading a lot and writing a lot. And part of me became obsessed with advocacy to the point where it was unhealthy. In the process, I hurt a lot of people and pushed a lot of people away. I abandoned people and betrayed others. In retrospect, this became my villain origin story. I remain in a constant state of anger, but I've learned to try and distance myself from those who may fall victim to that rage, and I'm still working on it. But part of me doesn't want to stop being angry because it helps me keep going, although the benefits come at a price. I am not a good person or a bad person. None of us are, and those binaries betray us. Learning that has forced me to re-examine my mother's life and some of the trauma she put me through while she was on her own journey. It's something I've been processing and wrestling with for literally a decade, as this week marks 10 years since my mother passed. And in an odd twist of faith, nothing has helped me process or cope with her passing more than a recent memorial for a woman in the community who I barely knew. It was a chance to say goodbye and right previous wrongs. It's funny how we can find healing in the places we least expect. So I write all of this to say that there is hope, even if life feels like a slow suicide. We can determine our own outlook, and despite our circumstances, find ways to smile and laugh and love. We will continue to find justice and reprieve in the places we least expect, because there is beauty in the struggle. And try as they may, they can't take it from us. They can't stop us from finding it and celebrating it and persevering. And that stubborn beauty is what I know will allow us to win. I was really touched and surprised to hear these words from this person who I know to generally have a pessimistic, negative outlook on life in sort of a humorous way. I was relieved to hear a bit of his story, to know what happened to him, and to hear how he is learning and growing and finding hope, even through the struggle, as he named it. So I share this story with you because it was inspirational to me. And in thinking about our individual journeys that I know each of you are on, collectively together as a community, as we continue our journey, the journey of our world, our nation, world history, I think, playing out before our eyes this week. And of course, the journey that we are on as humanity in relationship to our planet. These are all opportunities for healing. And I want us to truly take to heart that wisdom from Oprah and Dr. Perry, that we can rewrite the stories that we're given. All of us have our own stories, but we've entered into a bigger story that we didn't necessarily choose, in terms of, white supremacy, patriarchy, the environmental crisis that we're in, wars, politics. We've all entered into these stories that we have no control over. And yet we can use our own stories to rewrite them, to find the hope and make the changes, and even in small ways in our lives. We can find and create healing and justice. So I'll say, if there's anything I know for sure about God, the divine, about love, it's that the worst thing is never the last thing. That something good can always get squeezed out of even the most terrible things that happen to us. So keep going. Hold on, as the song said. Sometimes it is just, you gotta wait. You gotta wait through it and keep living one step at a time. Keep showing up to love each day, knowing that you will be slowly unfrozen like that frog, that something eventually will trigger inside and will start to spread from the inside out. And we'll keep journeying together until we all make it home. So that's some hopeful late winter, early spring words for us that now we can ruminate on together as we do some meditation.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Corey, for those words. At this time, I'd like to invite everyone to find a sustainable posture they can hold for the next few minutes during our time of meditation. Take a moment to check in with your surroundings. Notice any ambient sounds or smells. Let your gaze be soft. And having settled into your room, your space, I invite you to settle in to your body. Gently checking in with every part, starting at the top of the head, to your brow, the area around your eyes, your temples and jaw, your mouth, your throat and neck, your shoulders and upper arms, your upper arms and your upper back, your chest and belly, your lower back and hips, your upper legs, your lower legs, your resting hands, and your resting feet. Not trying to change your body at this time, just checking in. Having checked in with the body, I invite you to check in with the breath. Try to follow one breath from beginning to end, feeling the air enter through your nose or mouth, travel through your throat, expand your chest, and maybe even fill and expand your belly. Notice it pause, and then exhale back up through the chest, the throat, and out again. Wherever the breath was most noticeable to you, from inhale to exhale, or in the pause in the middle, let your attention gently rest on that one point in the breath. To keep your attention, it may help to count to 10 and start again at 1. 1 on the inhale, 2 on the exhale, 3 on the inhale, 4 on the exhale, up to 10, and starting again at 1. If you lose count, simply make a note of it and start again at 1. If your attention is pulled away by racing thoughts or a strong emotion or a physical sensation, that's normal. Make a note of it and return your awareness to the breath. If your attention has wandered, if you've lost count, you can always make a note of it and come back to the breath. Haven't taken a few minutes to practice awareness and noticing the distractions. I invite you to ask this reflective question about this very process. Ask yourself, who's this one who notices? Who's the one watching over you? Who's the one who can see more clearly as thoughts and feelings arise? And I invite you at this time to also ask, can this one help you see more clearly and help see you through your traumas and their aftershocks? As our time of meditation comes to a close, if it feels right to you, I invite you to offer silent words of gratitude to yourself for taking good care of yourself in this way, to the community practicing together, and to the greater spirit that abides with us at this time. Whenever you're ready, I invite you to let the sounds of the room come to you. Notice the physical sensations of your physical presence. And whenever you're ready, I invite you to open your eyes.
Thank you, Valerie. And we want to give thanks together. Share what you're particularly thankful for. Collectively, we give thanks for the signs of spring and for all of this great earth that we have been given that has everything we need within it. And we know as we share the resources in our care, we can do more good for one another. So yeah, thank you, Zach, for sharing the link where you can donate and support all that we're doing. We're thankful for the great support we've been having and continue to have through these winter months. I am thankful for all the stamps that we've received. We have over 15 books here, and I think there's a few more in our P.O. box that I can grab this week. So thank you all so much for supporting the stamp drive. I will get those to Chris here this week. Yeah, thankful for these ways we can keep connecting, Hannah. It's wonderful. And for all of you who keep showing up. Yes, all the opportunities we have. Thankful for those for you, Cam. Yes, all of the creatures coming back out. I'm excited and thankful for those who will help make Wednesday wonderful. We have our next new moon meditation, and it also is the Christian holiday of Ash Wednesday on March 2nd. So we're going to have a like 5 minutes at the beginning where we talk about what that is and how it is meaningful for those who celebrate it, and then have a time of meditation. So Kristen's putting together a cool music video for us, and I'll share a really lovely poem, and then we'll get to meditate and refocus for the month ahead. Yes, that's a great point, Justin, that sometimes our our trials can help us appreciate normal. And I'm glad you're doing all right and starting to feel better. Oh, cheese fair. That's exciting. Yes. So Tuesday, of course, is Mardi Gras, Fat Tuesday, the day before Lent, where you eat and party in excess and then try to do without all of that for 40 days. I guess the thought is to make yourself so sick of all of that stuff that then you don't want it for 40 days. But certainly Cheese Fair Sunday. All right. Eat up. You've got 3 days. And now, as we look towards the week ahead and maybe the season ahead, if you're somebody who likes to honor and recognize that season of Lent leading up to Easter, what intentions do you want to set? A word or a phrase that will guide you for the next 7 days at least. I'm kind of liking the hold on idea. Balance, yeah. That's an important one. Yeah, wake up. It's wake up time. Giving. Nice. Caring, observe. Yeah. Yeah, it is good to slow down enough to observe, and usually you find something good when you can observe for a little while. Yeah. Being hopeful. I like that you chose being. I don't know if you meant it intentionally, Zach, but I think that's been helpful to me in terms of thinking about there's not a lot of hope out there, but I can maybe be hope for someone or something else. Sort of cultivate it from within. Yeah. Well, whatever word or phrase you choose, I hope you will live intentionally this week. And we're gonna have our final blessing, and we have a special closing song this week that Kristen tipped me off to, that was shared last night. So we'll share that, and then you can hang out for as long as you want. If you're able to, feel free to unmute. So feel free to join me now in our closing blessing. Deep peace of running wave to you. Deep peace of flowing air to you. Deep peace of the quiet earth to you. Deep peace of the shining stars to you. Deep peace of the source of peace be with you.